The Girls Club, 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 The Girls Club. It's my club and I'm a girl, yeah.
Welcome back to the Girls Club. If you are a new member, welcome. And if you're a returning member, your dues are due at the end of this month. Don't forget that. It's $1,000 per day that you will write to me in the form of a direct wire transfer or via Western Union. I'm just kidding. This is free. This is free. So if you want more of this for less money than less than free, which is free times free, which is 9, if I couldn't say my threes correctly, but it's actually just free times free, which is double free. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Starnsy, where you can watch this every week. Every Thursday, the video version drops the same time as the audio version. And if you want to watch or just listen because you think I'm ugly and you hate the way that I look and you hate me, you can just subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So that's all the housekeeping I will say at the beginning. Let's get into this week's episode because this week's club meeting. Because this past week, I will say, shit has been going down. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, and maybe you're not big on hip-hop music, but even if you're not big on hip-hop music, I think that you know that there's been a little dispute going on between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. This past week has been crazy for hip-hop. If you don't know what's going on, basically, Kendrick Lamar, the rapper, and Drake, the pop artist / rapper / ex-actor, have been in a bit of a tussle, have been in a bit of some beef that has gone back since 2013, I believe. However, most recently started up when Metro Boomin, a producer, and Future, a rapper, released an album. And one of the songs on the album was featuring Kendrick Lamar. And it was the start of this diss track battle between him and Drake, because in that song, he makes reference to something that Drake and J. Cole said about like the big three in hip hop right now. They said it was Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. And Kendrick Lamar was like, nah, fuck y'all. It's just Big Me. That's what started this beef. And today, in present day, it is May the 7th. Okay? So that happened on April 12th, I believe. Let me go double check my sources here, because I don't want to be wrong about this. They put in an album called We Don't Trust You on, come on, y'all, when it come out? March 22nd. Okay, so this dates almost 2 months ago. March 22nd, that song came out. Most recent diss track and the Battle of Diss Tracks came out May the 4th. Okay? So, that's the span. In between all of this, Kendrick and Drake have been going head to head with diss after diss. And there is a clear winner that, you know, the public has deemed the winner. And I just want to talk about how the fact that in 2015, Drake and Meek Mill were having beef, okay? They were having beef, and they were battling it out in the same way that's happening right now, via diss track. However, at the time, Drake was the clear winner of that battle. He had 2 giant songs charged up back to back. I ended up giving a presentation about this in my marketing class, and I got a terrible grade on it because I don't even remember what the project was supposed to be about, but it definitely was like not supposed to be about this. And I gave the presentation on that beef under the guise of like the importance of diss tracks to progressing hip hop music and the importance in hip hop culture, because it removes the, you know, record labels, it removes all of the like politics that are involved in like selling records, because it's just about responding like 24 hours. And this was back when people were just listening to diss tracks on SoundCloud. They weren't really releasing them on like YouTube or anything. Like it was literally just like they'd record it, put it out on SoundCloud. It wasn't even like mixed down that well. Okay, so there was that. Now all of this shit is coming out that like the world has been knowing, right? Like everybody's kind of been knowing this shit about Drake, about the fact that he's like creepy with young girls, publicly creepy with young girls. He's kind of like a bum when it comes to like parenting his child, you know, like Adonis was kind of hidden from the world, which I don't fault him for that, because like if I was a celebrity, like I don't think I would want anybody else to like know. Not that I wouldn't want them to know that I had a kid. I think that's where he fucked up. It was like hiding the fact that he even had a child. That's weird. But like, I don't think hiding your child's identity is weird at all. Like if I have a kid, they are not going on the internet ever. Like their face is not being shown. I'm not giving anybody details about their life because I know the freaks that exist on the internet, and not the good kind. The fucking you should be in jail kind. However, I think Drake's reason for hiding his child was a bit different. I think it was a bit of like, I don't want to age myself by, you know, like now I have a kid. Now people are assuming that I'm like a certain, like I'm kind of like out of the like youngsters crowd now that I have a kid. Regardless of how old you are when you have your kid, I feel like that kind of puts you at like a different level, like maturity wise and like association, whether you want to or not. Like I remember Kylie Jenner having a baby, and in my head I'm like, oh, she's old now, even though we're the same age. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh no, she's like a mom. Like we're not in the same like bracket anymore of life. Somebody's smoking weed. I can smell it. It's kind of intense. Wow. It's a lot right now. I might be getting secondhand high. I'm just kidding. I don't smoke weed. If anybody was wondering, I feel like you can kind of tell from my vibes that I'm not big on the weed because I'm kind of like always like on a 10. I'm never like really chilling. Here's the thing. I'm a very chill person, but I'm not a like I can sit around all day and not do anything person. I can sit around all day and not do anything as long as it's like strategic. Like I've just never been able to just like literally do nothing all day without some sort of like objective. Like if the objective of the day is to chill and relax, cool. But if that precedent has not been set for some reason, like I can't do it. I get anxious as fuck. I feel like I got to go do something, like, and then I end up creating like problems out of things that never existed in the first place. Like I'm like, oh, you know what? There's like a smudge on that wall over there. I should go like wipe that up. And then I ended up like pulling the paint off the wall, and I'm like, fuck. Now I got to fix that. And then like, you know what I mean? Like I create issues when there is none. And in reality, I should have just sat my ass down and watched TV for 8 hours. But if I go into the day thinking, I'm going to sit my ass down and watch TV for 8 hours, we're good. I can do it no problem. Back to the Drake and Kendrick beef. I am a huge hip hop fan. I always have been my whole life. Last week I literally talked about like listening to Rick Ross in like second grade, fourth grade. Like I don't know why. I've always just like gravitated towards that music. I think also it has a lot to do with the fact that I was a dancer. So like that music's easy to dance to. You know what I mean? So I've always liked hip hop music. And so this just makes me so fucking hype. If you know me, you know that I have been a big Drake fan like my entire life. Like going back to like, God, I want to say like 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade is when I first started like heavily listening to Drake. And that was like the songs like, I better find your lovin', I better find your heart. Like, oh, stop singing. For the love of God. I'm sure you guys are so tired of hearing me sing. But yeah, no, I've been a big Drake fan like my whole life. However, I think the difference between being a fan of somebody's music and being a fan of them as a person in 2024 doesn't exist as much as it should. You don't need to wholeheartedly and fully support any famous person. Like, you can like their music. You can be their like top 5%, top 1% listener on your, Spotify Wrapped. And you can still hold them accountable for the shit that they do and like criticize them as a human being. And I think the issue that a lot of people, have when people do criticize artists that they're like really big fans of is like they feel that it's like an attack on them. Like Kyle from Milwaukee, Drake's number one dick rider, now feels that like people hate Kyle because people are hating on Drake. When in reality, it's not true. Unless you're a piece of shit, Kyle. And then that's just going to happen. And I think a good example of this is not all, and this is where it goes back to, right? Because like I would say I'm a Drake fan. Am I a fan of the fact that he's potentially a pedophile and a freak? Absolutely not. I think he should go to jail. And that's the difference. But I think that a lot of fans of musicians nowadays, specifically, like what the first thing that comes to mind is like a Swiftie. Like these people are, it's like we're riding at dawn. We're like when Taylor Swift dropped that line about like, if I could pick a decade to go back to, I'd go back to 1830 except without all the racists or whatever the fuck that she said. That was crazy. Like objectively, that was fucking weird. The fact that made the cut through multiple writing, editors, and everybody's like, yep, looks good, tells me A, she has the wrong people on her team, and B, she's a bit of a racist. She can say, except without all the racists. That's like being like, I'm not racist, I work with the black person. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like that means nothing. Like that doesn't prove anything, and I feel like sometimes the things that you say, the truth speaks the loudest in the least amount of words. And I feel like statements like that, it's like, okay, and then it's like the alignment with certain people in her life that I'm also like, okay, maybe she's not the greatest person on the planet. It's a valid critique. However, a lot of her fandom cannot accept that. They cannot handle criticizing this woman who I believe that they feel is a mirrored image of their own self. And so to them, it feels like an attack on them. And whether or not you want to internalize that, that's on you. But like if artists that I really liked said that kind of shit, I would be like, yo, I want to distance myself from that artist. Like, yeah, I like their music, but the fuck was that? You know what I mean? I feel like that is normal. And people like Ariana Grande, like I feel like her fan base is also psychotic, for the most part. And I don't know, but I think the whole Drake and Kendrick thing, I think both people have a lot of issues. Kendrick has been the first to say, like he's gone to therapy to work on shit and like cheated on his wife and like all these things, like he's like said and admitted, and it has like been very public about a lot of it through his songs. Whereas people like Drake, I think Drake is an example of a artist that makes good music about really nothing. It's not Drake. Like his music is not written from his own lived experience. I think a lot of it is like he has that like chameleon effect where it's like whoever he's surrounding himself with at that time, like that is what music we get. If you go through all of his albums, they all sound so different. And if you look directly through like his socials, it's like a different persona with each album. He's cosplaying all of these things. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he was never part of the culture that he like tends to rap about. And Wayne even said that like when he signed him, not to get like rap nerdy on here, I'm almost done talking about this. But even when Wayne signed him, he was like, you know, I told him, like, you need to stick to what you do. And just because, like, you're associated with me now doesn't mean that you need to start rapping about, like, the things I rap about. Because, like, we have different lived experiences. Like, you started your career as a professional actor, not as somebody who, like, quote, started from the bottom, like that whole fucking song that he had, and, like, you know, had to, like, scrape by, and, like, you know, they were, like, out in the streets, and, like, part of, like he grew up in the burbs and was on Degrassi and played a kid in a wheelchair, you know, like. And so back to all this rap beef. I'm just excited to see what happens next. Kendrick is winning regardless. Today there was a crazy update that one of the security guards on Drake's, like, OVO compound, which is just like a big mansion that he owns in Toronto, that, like, it's technically his residence, but I think what goes on there is mainly, like, work stuff. Like, that's not where he, like, lives. And he was not there at the time when it happened, but one of his security guards was shot, and, like, that's all we know so far. And we don't know, like, if this has to do with the beef. We don't know who shot who. We don't know, like, what's going on. It's all crazy, but I just had to start the episode off with that because I was like, y'all, what the fuck is going on? And I don't ever want it to end. This has been the greatest, like, week of my life because I am just, like, obsessed with all of this. It's so good for hip hop music. It's so good for all of it. And, like, I could really, really, really dive deep into it. I'm not going to save you guys that nerd sesh. But if you're interested in learning more, literally just go on the internet. If you don't know what's going on, like, I don't even know how you found this podcast because, like, it just exists anywhere on the internet right now. I think even the news and shit is talking about it. But yeah, that shit's just so crazy. Meanwhile, hold up. Meanwhile, Macklemore, who is kind of involved in this beef, if we really want to go back to it, because when he won, like, hip hop album of the year over Kendrick and Drake in, God, fuck, what year was that? 2018 or some shit? When he won that, like, that kind of started a lot of this, you know, change in paths in terms of careers. But he dropped a song yesterday on Instagram as, like, a diss track basically to the American government and our police and our involvement in the Israeli-Palestine war. And, like, go Macklemore. Like, that was fucking awesome. So go check that out. That's on his Instagram, Free Palestine. And, like, that was just crazy. Like, I saw that and I was just like, what? And he just, like, was in the middle of all this, was like, you know, like, y'all do your thing or whatever, but this is what's, like, really important right now. So I just thought that was pretty cool. It was random. At the same time, it wasn't random. I think it was just random because it was Macklemore. You know, like, I haven't heard or seen from you in a long time. Except I did watch on CBS Sunday morning. Or maybe it was CBS Saturday morning. I don't know. I was at my parents' house. It was on. And it was Macklemore talking about his sobriety and his, like, journey with substance abuse and all of that. And he seems like a lovely guy. Like, honestly, he seems like a really nice guy. So I hope it's not performative because he does seem really, really nice. And to put out a song like this is kind of, I feel like, also works in that image of being just, like, a really nice guy. So I don't know. Shout out Macklemore. I did love that thrift shop song. What other song did I have? Downtown. That song was like a fucking movie. Really was. Like, the progression in that song was unreal. It's like it told such a story. You know, you could really feel it. And then when the music video dropped, I was like, hell yeah, this is great. So I think going back to, you know, we were talking about, like, this beef. I started talking about, like, you know, I gave this presentation in high school, blah, blah, blah. let's go back to that era. Let's talk about it a bit, because I truly don't think that the kids realize. I'm gonna hop on my like old head type shit right now. I just don't think these kids nowadays understand what life was like in 2016. I don't think they know about the 20 teens, what it was like going to college in 2016. Because let me tell you, like, let's paint a picture here. If you were young, if you were in college currently, or you were like in college in like the beginning of like 2020, I'm so sorry because the pandemic and everything, but like if that's when you started college, like let's talk about 2016, because that means y'all were in high school. And for me, college starting in 2016 was quite literally so insane, because the fashion at that time was crazy. Number one, that shit was insane. We were wearing the most weird fucking shit. And I'm sure I'm going to look back in 10 years from now and look at the shit that I'm wearing now and be like, you were wearing the weirdest shit. But something about 2016 fashion was just truly like unmatched. The 20 teens were crazy because it was like, why were we wearing pants, or why were we wearing skirts that had no shape whatsoever and buttoned from the bottom to the top with a cold shoulder top, a velvet choker, or like one of those tattoo parlor chokers, and then like side part to the gods, red lipstick, and like earrings that were made out of like rope dangly things, and like gladiator sandals. Like, what were we on? It was insane. And also there was so many patterns. Like, I feel like the Gen Z version of that, like the true Gen Z, like I know like I'm technically Gen Z, but I feel like the younger Gen Z is like that, the cow print revival. Like that shit is so fucking ugly. But I feel like our version of that was like chevron, leopard, cheetah print. It's like all the mom prints that you think of when you're like, oh, that's such a mom shirt. Like that's the shit we were rocking in college. Like the unsexiest things you could ever think of. And then when we wanted to be sexy, we literally just dressed in like underwear to go out. Like we were just wearing straight up lingerie. Like multiple times I would wear like Savage X Fenty like out with like leather pants. Looking like somebody's like New Jersey housewife. I look crazy. But like that's just what we were doing. That's what we were about. It was a sign of the times. It was like pre Amazon fashion too. Like honestly, like the end of college, like that's when Amazon was really popping off to the fact of like, okay, now we're actually getting clothes from here. But this was when we were still getting shit at boutiques, okay? We were all repping the same shit. And we were all looking wild. So that era was crazy. Also, that era of music was crazy. Going to a fucking party and hearing Mo Bamba, y'all don't even know how crazy the white boys got to that. Which that in and of itself is a bit of a okay. Should y'all be getting down that hard to that? I remember seeing Lil Yachty. I remember Lil Yachty before he was Lil Yachty. He came to our college and performed for like, we had this thing called Row, and it was basically like when fraternities would like partner together and then pay to have artists come out, and it was like a week of concerts. So it was like our school's attempt at a music festival, but it was really just like a bunch of fucking drunk ass people doing drugs and getting so fucked up that they couldn't even like make it to the concerts. And the people performing were always just like either didn't show up or were terrible. But I remember when Lil Yachty came, and I think he did like 3 total songs. He was like 3 hours late, did 3 whole songs, and was awful. But like I didn't even care, you know? And it was when Broccoli came out. What do y'all know about Broccoli? In the middle of the party, bitch, get off me. Oh my God. Like that was the time That was the time when I was going to college. And the Black Beetle challenge. Remember Ray Shrimid? Black Beetles in the city. And like it was like the mannequin challenge where you like freeze. Yeah. That's when I was in college. It was like pre-TikTok. It was like when people were using Musical.ly, but like people my age weren't using Musical.ly. It was like little kids using Musical.ly. And so by the time like we discovered TikTok, we were so late to the game. And like it was like 2019, I remember like adopting TikTok and starting to, I think I posted my first TikTok in 2019. And all TikTok was at that time was like dance videos. And so like you'd be at the club. You'd be at the club drunk as fuck, propping your phone up, you know, to hit the renegade. That was how we used TikTok, man. And I was going through my phone the other day and I was finding videos. This is embarrassing, but I have over 130 drafts on TikTok. 130. Think about recording 130 different videos of yourself and being like, I shouldn't post this. But instead of deleting it, you keep it because you're like, maybe I could post it later. That's my phone. I have 130 drafts on TikTok. I think it's taking up over 30 gigabytes of storage on my phone. But I don't want to delete it because like a couple of days ago I was looking back at them and like some of them are so fucking bad that I'm like, I can't delete this. This is hilarious. My first draft on there is just this insane video of me. And it was like at the time where none of my friends were using TikTok. I was the only person using it. And like one of my other roommates used it, but like didn't ever post on it. Like I think she posted like one dancing video and then after that didn't. I was posting like skits. Before people were really posting skits, I was using TikTok more like Vine. Except it was longer. So it was like, I think this was before TikTok rolled out like a minute long videos. It was like up to 30 seconds is what like you had. And my first draft on my TikTok is one of me dancing. The second one is this skit that I did. And it was like, POV, you are... God, I don't remember what it was. It was something about like staying home sick. It's like POV, you stay home from school sick because you're sick. And then I just like look at the camera and I go, I want to stay home from school because I'm sick. And I was like comedy gold, Oscar, Emmy, Tony, all of the above. Probably a Grammy if you turned it into a track for real. Like that's what I was thinking, but I didn't post it because I was like, no, the people aren't going to get it. Like the world isn't ready for this creative genius that is me on TikTok. So I like held on to it all these years since 2019, y'all. And I looked on my phone and I was like, oh my God. It was so embarrassing because number one, I look insane because this was in an era where I had just gotten so traumatized by my hair lady because I'm not even quite sure like how it progressed as bad as it did. I'll find a photo. So if you are on the video version, you can see this photo of my hair. And if you're on audio only, I will paint a picture for you so you can imagine. So at the time, I was platinum blonde. Okay. I know it's probably hard to imagine if you see me the way that I am now, but at the time, imagine me as like platinum blonde, broken hair. Like my ends were so see-through. My hair is already fine. And so like bleaching it for years and years and years and years and years made it even worse. And I had hit this point where like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was so expensive. It was like $400 every time I was getting my hair done. And because I was platinum, doing a full highlight every time, I had to go in like every 3 weeks. And the math is not mathing on that because I didn't have any money. All the money I was making was going towards my hair. Like that was it. And I was like, this is stupid. I can't do this anymore. So I went to my lady and I was like, you know what? I want a lower maintenance hairstyle. I wasn't ready to go fully brunette. And also my hair was too blonde to where like, even if we would have gone fully brunette, like it wouldn't have worked well because it would have like the tone would have been bad. You know what I mean? And so she was like, okay, like we'll transition you into like a balayage. We'll do like a bit of a darker root, like closer to your natural color, but we won't go to your full natural because as you can see, my full natural is very dark. So she was like, we'll do that. And in my head, I'm like, okay, girl, like you're the professional. I'm going to trust you. I don't know. Like I'm not a hairstylist. So of course I'm like, okay, yeah, slay. You've been doing my hair for like 3 years. Sounds good. Well, this is when I learned that some people are really good at blonde hair. And that's it. They can't do brown hair to save their life. And this is something that she should have communicated to me, that she didn't know what the fuck she was doing, because she dyed half of my hair. Y'all, I am not exaggerating when I say she took brown dye, painted. So I'm fully bleached blonde at this point, right? My roots are probably grown out like an eighth of an inch maybe. But it's just a brown strip right there because that's like my natural hair color, okay? And I was doing a full root to tip highlight every 3 weeks. And we're going in just brown dye from my root to halfway to like probably my ear, okay? Imagine that. Brown. Left the bottoms blonde. I asked for a lower maintenance lived in blonde balayage. Okay? You cannot imagine the look on my face when I come back from the bowl, getting my hair washed, and I'm looking in the mirror, and it is giving, she put a bowl on my head and just like painted the bottom part of my hair white, and then the top was just like black. Like it looked insane. And she was like, okay. And I looked at her and said, okay, what? Like, are we on to the next step? Like, what's going on? Like, this isn't it. This can't be it. I can't walk out of here like this. It was it. That was it. And I was like, okay. I was in that moment where it was like so fucking traumatizing. I couldn't even like really speak. And I'm not really like a reactive crier like that. The only time I really cry like with people around is when I'm watching something on the television that's sad or a person of authority is talking to me. And then for some reason I just start crying because I can't handle that. Like literally if somebody like higher up in like a job or something is like talking to me, not even in like a degrading way, literally just like I don't know about anything. I just like my eyes start swelling and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Sorry. I don't know how to handle this. I'm uncomfy. But this moment, I was just in such pure shock. I couldn't even react. So I was like, okay, handed her like, $400 or whatever the fuck it was. I walked out of there. I got in my car and I was like, no, this isn't real. Like, this isn't real. And I went back to my house. I was living in a house at the time with my current roommate and my best friend, and we were in this house. No, I wasn't. Was I guess I was there. Yeah. And so then I go and I take a photo in the mirror because I was like, just wanted to make sure I wasn't tripping. Okay. And my hair was giving Wiz Khalifa black and yellow. Like it was so bad. And so then I made all of these like Snapchat videos, which were basically TikToks of the time. Of me making fun of the way that I looked. And the next day I had a presentation. And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to class looking like this, like a buffoon, like a clown. So I wore a beanie to my class and it was a business presentation. So I had like a full like business formal outfit on with a beanie with one of those big ass stupid balls on the top that was like furry, and I wore that to class and like didn't say anything to my teacher or like anybody in my group. I just like showed up like that was totally normal. It was giving like you dressed your character in like Animal Crossing or something and you like got gifted that from one of your villagers and you're like, okay, I'll try it on. Like that's what it looked like. It looked crazy. And I was like, I can't be seen like this. And so after that, I texted that my hair lady at the time and I was like, girl, I'm sorry. I have to come back in and get this fixed. Like this is crazy. I'm so embarrassed. Like I wore a beanie to class for a presentation for my final project. Like you have to fix this. And also I had my senior photos coming up for graduation. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I went back in. And so to fix it, what she ended up doing was like re-dyeing my hair blonde. So this is what my hair has been through. It's been bleached for years and years and years. It got half dyed black. It wasn't even brown. It was like black. Like, because when she first dyed it brown, it turned, guess what color? Orange. Like it was giving auburn red. So then she had to go back over it with like a color and then a toner to tone it to this black color. And then, so I go back in and she just re-dyes it all blonde. And guess what happened as a consequence? My hair turned to spaghetti and it fell out of my head. And that is when I started using clip-in extensions. So anybody who tells you like I'm one of those people where I'm like, just get your hair cut because it will grow back. But I will never, ever tell somebody to get their hair colored, like a crazy thing that they've never done before, unless that they've like talked to like somebody that they like know for certain is not going to fuck it up, because it is so traumatic. Because when you get your hair cut, it's not damaged. So it hypothetically, yes, it will grow back. When you get your hair colored, A, it's putting stress on your hair and damaging it. And B, it's not going to grow back the same way it would if it just got cut. Because when it breaks off like that, it's like you've created this like memory in your hair. So every time like the new hair grows out and it gets to a certain length, it will just keep breaking in that same spot unless you cut it shorter. And I was like, I'm not cutting my hair shorter, girl. Like my hair was at like it was above my shoulders at this point. So like it was really short already. And the pieces around my face were so short because they were all broken. So yeah, I have a lot of empathy for when women get their hair like fucked up by stylists, because I'm like, it's your fucking job. And I understand like you're gonna be bad sometimes and like that just happens because like whatever. But this wasn't like a new person to hair. Like this lady had been doing my hair for 3 fucking years, and I thought that we were like close enough to the point of like she could have been honest with me and been like, yo, I don't know how to do this. But instead she just fucked it up, re-fucked it up, and charged me both times. And I'm too awkward of a person to be like, no, I'm not paying again. Like I literally was just like, oh, okay, here's my credit card. Here's another $250 or whatever. Like, oh my God. So traumatizing. But yeah, college in 2016 was crazy. And then the pandemic came and fucked us all over. God, that really sucked. Seriously. Oh my God, speaking of college, this is like just a funny quick story. So one of my roommates in college, she was my roommate sophomore and junior year, and she's like one of my really good friends. And then our senior year, she ended up transferring schools to go to school somewhere else for nursing school. And I love her so much. And it's just funny because now she's like, you know, like has like her mans and a house and like a baby. Like she's my friend who just had a baby. So it's like, this is just like, she's matured so much and I love her so much. But in college, what made me think about this the other day is because I've like perfected this one cookie recipe recently. It's like this oatmeal chocolate chip cookie recipe. And they're so good. They are so effing good. And I made them when I was back home a couple weekends ago. And my nieces were like, Aunt Emmy, you make the best cookies. And that was like, I literally in that moment almost cried because I was like, oh my God, Aunt Emmy does make the best cookies. She really does. And I was like, I feel like that's how like dads feel or moms feel when their kids like, I love you. Like that to me was like just as good as them being like, I love you. To be like, you make good like the best cookies. I was like, oh my God. Cause like imagine when they're like 14 and they're like, oh, I wish Aunt Emmy would bake some cookies. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry right now if I keep talking about it. But cause I can't imagine them being 14. because right now they are 4.5 and 2. So I can't think about them being 14. That'll make me cry. But my roommate, every time she would have a guy over, and not that she was like having guys over all the time, but like it would be like the same guy. So like she through the 2 years that we were there, it was like 2, 3, maybe 4. I'm not trying to out her. One of the guys is the guy that she's currently with. So like that one doesn't even count. You know what I'm saying? Like so it's like 3 guys. But anytime she would have a guy over before they came over, she's such a hoe for this. She would make Nestle Toll House break apart cookies. But instead of just like breaking them apart and placing them all in the pan like a normal fucking person, she would roll them to get like the square shape off of them. And she would destroy the evidence. You know, she's throwing away the wrapper. She's throwing away all of the evidence because she would tell these men that that was her recipe. She'd be like, "Oh yeah, like these are my famous cookies." And like I am obsessed with that. I'm so obsessed with her because not only is she making these men cookies, like, you know, that is like so extra and unnecessary. Like they are coming to like eat your cookie. You know what I'm saying? They don't need your fucking secret recipe over here too. But like she's just doing the most. Like she's like the aftercare queen. But she would make these damn cookies every fucking time. And every time she'd lie out of her ass and say, "Oh, they're my secret recipe, my famous recipe." And every time I was like wondering, like, do these men believe this? Because I'm sure that they do, because men are so fucking stupid. I literally just think though, because like Toll House, like Nestle Break Apart Toll House cookies are so like it's such a distinguished flavor, right? You like you know what it tastes like, and if you've never had a Nestle Toll House Break Apart cookie, go to the grocery store, buy a pack, put them in the oven. It's like 8 to 10 minutes, 350. Pull them out, let them sit on the pan for like a minute or less, and then put them on a cooling rack immediately. Because if they keep cooking, they're not as good. Taste it. You will know that flavor for the rest of your life. It is so distinguishable. Like, you know that like that's a Nestle Toll House Break Apart cookie. And they've had to have had these, right? Like, I feel like that's such a normal thing. Like, maybe that's just like was so normal at my house in my childhood because my older brother loved chocolate chip cookies. So like we would always have those at my house, just like in the fridge. Or that and like boxed brownie mix were like 2 things that we always had in my house. Because I'm like a dessert family and we make everything homemade. But sometimes like with dinner, it's like, oh, I just want a quick dessert. Like pop it in the oven, you know? And so like, it's just it was so funny to me because like growing up, I always ate those. So then when she would pull this little stunt, I'd be like, how are these boys like not recognizing this flavor? And one of them was like, oh, this tastes like my mom's cookies. And I was like, your mom is lying to you too. It's generational trauma, the Toll House cookie drama. Like literally I was like, this is so fucking funny. So if you ever want to like act like you're like super like this like homemaker and you just like have the like, you know what I mean? Like you're super like maternal and like you have your shit together, make Nestle Toll House Break Apart cookies, roll them in a ball, and then put them on like a cute little plate or in a cookie jar or some shit, and men will think that you made them from scratch. Because their moms have been doing the same shit their whole lives, apparently. And that's why I love women, you know? Because, like, I feel like a lot of times, like, I don't know, I'm like, maybe men just don't buy that stuff for themselves. I know, like, my brothers do. But maybe it's just because, like, that's how my family was. But, like, that's just so funny to me that they, like, were like, oh, my God, like, you make the best cookies. I'm like, yeah, she does make the best cookies. And I'm like looking at her and she's just like smiling, like her little like mischievous ass. I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. But I just thought that was so goddamn funny. I had to say it. The Met Gala was last night. I'm 26 years old. I don't know what the fuck that is for. What is the Met Gala? I know the Met is like a museum. Is it a fundraiser? What is it? Like, what happens in there? You know? It is the most random group of celebrities that gather there. You know what I mean? It's not like an award show where it's like, okay, it makes sense why it's all like music artists and then some other miscellaneous famous people who it's like, why are you invited to this if you don't make music? Like, I don't understand. The Met Gala is like one of those things where I feel like it's just like rich. As long as you check off the box of like rich, you can go. And it's supposedly one of the most exclusive events ever. And then yet in the same breath, every year I see people's outfits of like human beings I've never seen once in my entire life. So I'm like, it's got to just be like a buy-in type thing. Anyways, the theme was like Sleeping Beauty or some shit in like the Gardens of Time. Like, I don't know what the fuck any of it means. It seems so dystopian with everything going on in the world. I don't understand why they still have this stuff. I don't understand why people attend it. The conspiracy oh my God, I can't talk right now. The conspiracy theorist in me feels like it's like one of those things that like has to happen. And if you don't attend, you get like blacklisted from Hollywood or some shit. But like, I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Everybody looks crazy. Every time I just think this is so Hunger Games core. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so crazy that it's like, oh, all of us poor people who, you know, we're just like the average Joe Schmoes, like watch this on TV and on the internet, and it's like not even like a real thing. You know, it's not like the Grammys or like the Oscars where it's like now we get to see like the inside and like what's going on. Or maybe we do. I have no idea what it is. Like maybe this is just more of a like commentary on me. But I thought like the Met Gala like always see is like the red carpet looks. Which to that I'm like, what is this? And why do I care? The only thing I know is Zendaya always slays, but she slays at literally everything. I watched Challengers the other day. If you are a heterosexual woman who hasn't been touched in a long time, go watch that movie. It's good for that. There's a lot of things in that movie that like I wasn't a huge fan of. There was this one scene where one of the main guy characters slaps the other main guy character's boner. That was really random. And all I could think was like, is this like a normal thing in like straight dude culture, just slap each other's boners? Because that was really fucking gay. And like I was just thinking like, okay, they wrote that in the script. Or was it improv? And if it was improv, does that mean he had a real boner? Because that's crazy. You know? Because I feel like for the most part, like that type of shit is like prosthetics. Or I would assume it was. I don't know. But yeah, the movie basically was just like, when it ended, I was like, if the two guys would have just had sex, I feel like this whole thing would have been resolved. You know? And it really made me like angry at Zendaya's character, which I think is the point, but the whole time I was just like, God, you're so annoying. Like all the characters were so fucking annoying. But it was hot. The movie was hot. And it was hot in a way where it was like, these two dudes are so fucking normal looking. And it was almost like refreshing to see. It was a bit annoying though that like the girl was so like Zendaya was just like is so astronomically out of these two guys' leagues. But I feel like that's so normal in movies, like especially like age wise. Like I feel like the girl's always significantly younger than the men in the like her co-stars in the movies, but the guys are playing like 30-year-olds, but they're like 48 in real life. But this movie, like I kind of liked that the guys were normal looking and weren't like super hot or whatever, because it like, I don't know, like it felt like any of us could have been in Zendaya's position. Like, I don't know, like, because I could like imagine myself with one of these dudes, like kind of ugly looking guys. I was like, this is real. I've seen this story before. every guy I've ever dated just kind of ugly. Like, I could really put myself in her shoes. I could really relate. But no, I thought it was good. There was a couple of moments where like, if you are into film, you'll care about this. If you're not into film, like you're gonna be like, shut up. The cinematography was weird. Like some of the shots, like literally one of the first shots of the movie, I like turned to one of my friends that I was there with and I was like, this is a very weird shot. And I don't know if I don't know, like, and there was a couple of like parts in the movie where it seemed like they were like editing mistakes. And maybe it's just me as somebody who like is like a video editor quite literally for their job, that like there was multiple points where I was like, this is like, what's going on? And one of the scenes, like they'd been doing slow-mo throughout the movie, and if you're into film or cinematography or videography, you'll understand like frame rate is like really important when you're editing, because like if the frame rate changes, the like quality of the video is going to change. And so like there was one moment where it went into slow-mo, but like the frame rate was different than the rest of the whole movie, so it looked like super blurry for like almost a whole minute. And I was so confused because I was like, is this intentional, or like this was just the best shot that they could get and they just went with it? Like I would have just cut that part out. Like I don't know. And then there's a couple of edits in the movie where it was like jump cuts, which is like a big no-no in professional like film. Like most of the time when there's a cut in a movie, it will go from like one camera angle to a different one, so you don't notice like those are just cuts in post-production in the sequence, so the viewer is not like taken out of the moment. But this would be like the same camera angle and it would just cut to a different take of the same scene at the same angle. Like I don't know, like there's a couple things like that where I was like, is this on purpose, or like did they just like run out of time or run out of shots? And they were like, well, whatever. So there was just like a couple moments like that where I was just very confused. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I think it's definitely like a good, like, it's definitely for the girls. I will say that, and it specifically is for the straight women. There were some boys in the movie, and when we were leaving, it was like these 3 dudes that came to this movie by themselves, which that in and of itself is crazy. It's like, did you not do any research? And you know these guys are like film bros because like they were like at the movies on a Thursday night and the whole theater was women. It was all girls. And then like my friends went, and one of my friend's friends is a boy. He's straight, but he's really into like film and he's super woke and like just really cool. So like he wasn't, you know, like weirded out by some of the homoerotic moments in the movie because he's just like a mature adult. But these guys, it was so funny because we were leaving the movie and they're like right in front of us and they're like, that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I was like, yo, this was not for you. But yeah, I think it's a good movie. I would definitely just go see it with like girlfriends though, because I think boys are going to be like weird about it unless they're into like just movies. Like my older brother could totally watch that movie and not be weird because he's like really into movies and has like a Letterboxd account and like it's like a freak about movies like the way that I am. So overall I thought it was okay. Yeah, that was the quick little snippet of that movie that I saw. Also, I'm a huge movie person and I have like a unlimited pass to a movie theater like franchise in my area. So if you've ever if you ever go see a movie that's like come out recently, let me know if it's like really banging, because like I'll go see it. And I love recommendations for like new movies that come out, because I can go, like I pay like, it's like $20 a month and I can see as many movies as I want at the select theaters or whatever. But yeah, let me know, because I love a suggestion to that. Okay, so last week I put in there, I mean, not I put in there, I put in what? Last week at the end of the show, I mentioned that I wanted to start a segment at the end of either each episode or every couple of episodes where I have you guys write in as honorary club members, either asking for advice from your president, which is me, or wanting to confess something. And it will always be anonymous unless you tell me otherwise. And I put out on the Instagram today asking for confessions or advice. And so we're going to get into that now. So in the future, if you want to participate in this, you can just DM thegirlsclub.pod on Instagram, either a confession or questions that you have, advice really. Or you can DM me on my personal account. It's Starnsy on Instagram. So let's get into those now. Okay, first one we have is, I guess, a confession. It says, day 28 of being madly in love with you. And who is this? Okay, it's a boy. Oh, Lord. I guess he sent me lots of DMs that I'm now looking at. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say to that. Okay, the next one is some advice. Let's get into the advice. How about we? Advice on how to deal with a micromanager that gives you backhanded remarks. Oh, God. Okay. So I had a manager like this in an internship. Luckily now my manager is awesome. She is close in age to me, so I think that helps a lot, because she's not too much older than me to where it's like she doesn't really get me. So we were able to communicate really easily. But I did, in my internship before I graduated college, I had a manager who was a man and who was almost at an executive level. So he was very intimidating. And this is where I think I developed this like response of like crying when people of like a certain authority talk to me, because like he fucked me up. Every day I would come to work and I would throw up before I talked to my manager, because I had such bad anxiety. I wouldn't eat all day long because like he freaked me out and it was so scary. And like every single thing that I did, he like, it wasn't right. Except then the like corrections that he would give me wouldn't make any sense. And so then I would just like turn it into him again and he'd be like, okay, perfect. And I wouldn't change anything. So it was just like, he like hated me. I really think he did. And I think he was very sexist, because like he would make weird remarks about like how on days where his wife wouldn't make his lunch, he just wouldn't eat, because like, what is he supposed to do? Like make his own lunch? Like it was like stuff like that where I was like, ew, you're kind of gross. He would also give me like way too much time to get stuff done. And when I would like express to him that like, oh, I finished it, he like couldn't comprehend the fact that like I did that, because he thought it was like very dumb and like unintelligent. And so he would be like, well, just keep working on it. And it would be like a data analytics type assignment. And I'm like, well, I can't just like keep inputting data that I like, it's done. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, I don't know. What else do you want me to do? He's like, well, you have until the end of the week to complete it. And this was like you could work from home. So I was just sitting in an office for like 8 hours doing nothing. Anyways, back to your question. How do you deal with it? You know, how to deal with a micromanager that gives you backhanded remarks. Number one, the backhanded shit is like so hard because at the end of the day, this is what sucks about like just work in general, because a lot of people become managers who are bad at managing people, because that is the progression in most careers. Is like you start as a, you know, some sort of entry level role where you have nobody that you are responsible for. The next progression or promotion is some sort of managerial role. However, a lot of people are not good at leading people, at being in charge of people, at like coaching people. And so what happens is a lot of people get promoted because like they are good at this entry level stuff, but then they go up, and there's not a lot of roles that where you can go up in salary and position without having managerial experience. So like that's a natural progression, but like some people are just really bad at it. And then you get stuck with managers like this who are like, they're just not good managers, because a good manager would never like give you like backhanded shit, because they would be very honest and upfront with you, but they would also do it in a way that was like a learning experience. You know, it wouldn't be like in a way where it's like putting you down to teach you a lesson, because like that doesn't work in real life. You know what I mean? Like this isn't Whiplash. You can't just like bully me into being better. Like I'll quit for real. How do you deal with that? I think that, you know, I think a lot of times with relationships and in a professional setting, think about how you would respond as a child. You know, if I was 10 years old and somebody said something to me that hurt my feelings, I would say, that wasn't very nice. That hurt my feelings. They would immediately feel like absolute shit. And it's a very professional way of saying like, you're being an asshole. You're being a dickhead. And it puts the onus back on them to realize their actions and to say, oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, oh shit. And it's in a way that's not aggressive, and it's also not passive aggressive. It's just very honest. So I would say something like that. Like if they're saying things that are constantly backhanded and whatever, I would just be upfront and honest and say like, that's hurting my feelings, or I don't understand what you mean by that. Like, could you explain so I can, you know, do it in a way that's like to your liking or whatever. Because I think that's where I fucked up with my manager who was like this, is I would just like take it. And when you keep taking it, they're never going to realize like this is a bad management style. And what sucks is like sometimes you have to manage up. And with my manager, at first she was very like micromanagey, and like I needed to check in with her constantly and do all these things. And I had to express to her like, that is not how I am. I am not somebody who is going to have 27 different checklists going on and, you know, keeping like all these like timelines and whatever. Like that's just not me. I'm never going to be like that. If you need me to be like that, we need to figure out we need to meet in the middle on this, because I'm just not going to be that person. So if you can have some sort of a conversation like that, that would be the best. But I think that's in a perfect world. I don't know, because you also don't want to just like go over their head and like go straight to HR, because I feel like that puts a target on your back. And all of this sucks because like as a woman, this listener is a woman. As a woman, it's like you're always going to be the bitch in the situation, and it really fucking sucks. I don't know if your boss is also a woman. Sometimes that can make it easier, but then also sometimes it can make it worse if they're like a woman who's not like woman centric and is not a feminist, because like they're gonna be like, oh well, you're just being a bitch, because like they're also gonna uphold like patriarchal and misogynistic ideologies. Yeah, I would just like go back to your roots as a child, and just the honesty always works. I would say like, hey, like I don't appreciate that type of, you know, communication style, or that hurts my feelings. Like literally just saying something like that will throw salt in a wound so fucking hard, and they will feel like a dickhead. So I hope that helped. I kind of just rambled for a really long time, but I hope that helped. Advice on how to spice up your intimate life with your partner feels like a roommate. Advice on how to spice up your intimate life when your partner feels like a roommate. Oh. Here's the thing. I haven't seriously dated anybody in a really long time. I don't know if I'm the best person to be giving you relationship advice. Also, I haven't had sex in a really long time. I don't know if I'm the best person to be giving you sex advice. But all that to say, what I will say on that is I'm sure after a while of living with somebody who you're in a relationship with, it probably does turn into a bit of a roommate situation because that's just like natural. You guys are really comfortable with each other. You know, you're in a routine, you're going through life side by side but experiencing your own shit. And so sometimes I feel like it's exhausting. Like even having just like somebody that you live with, like there's certain points where it's just it turns into like, oh, this is our routine. Like we wake up, we each go do our thing, we go to work, we come home at the end of the night, maybe we eat dinner together, maybe we don't, and we watch TV and then we go to bed and we do it again the next day. So I would say the best way to spice stuff up is to like either add something to the routine or fuck up the routine. Like change something up. Whether that's like adding like, okay, one day a week we go do something and then that is what insinuates like some romance, or mess up your routine and like start trying a different routine and like that'll add elements of like, you know, it'll just like be moments where things aren't as mundane. And because I feel like that is where romance goes away in times where it's mundane. And I feel like when you do things, they don't even have to be like intimate things that you do, but like even just doing and stuff that's just like outside of your normal routine, I feel like will spark some level of romance, which might then lead to intimacy. Or also you guys could just like buy a new sex toy or something. I don't know. If your partner's a guy, I feel like you really can just introduce something new to your sex life and they'll be cool with it. So maybe if you just like order yourself a new vibrator and whatever, that might spice things up. Just masturbate in front of him, really. Guys love that shit. That's what I would say. But yeah, just, I don't know, throw a wrench in your plans. Add something new to your guys' like daily schedule and like maybe every like 2 weeks or some shit you guys go on a date or whatever. Okay, last one I'm going to do tonight, and then next week, if yours didn't get read this week, check out next week because I don't want to do all of them tonight because the episode is already over an hour. So let's get into this last one. How to tell someone their boyfriend sucks ass and should kick rocks. Okay. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. This doesn't really work. Because the thing about hating somebody else's boyfriend is like, it's really hard to like truly express how your opinion of somebody holds more value than that person's opinion of that person. So you can say till you're blue in the face that that this person's boyfriend sucks, and you can say how they are so much better than them and all the things that they could, you know, do better without them. They don't care. Because at the end of the day, they know these things. When a person is with somebody who sucks, they know they suck. They know it. But I don't know why they stay. I don't know why. But it's probably because like we only see this small percentage of the relationship and they see all these other things, and they're probably holding on to a moment in their relationship where it was perfect, and now it's them trying to get back to that moment and trying to do all of the things that they think that they should do to get their boyfriend to treat them the way that they did during that time. And the issue is, it's like once you start accepting a certain level of behavior and tolerating that level of behavior, like you're never going to get them to go back to being the best version of themselves. They're always going to be that shitty version. Unless you guys go to like couples counseling or something, which most people who are just dating each other are not going to do. You don't have a legal commitment to one another. So I don't know how you tell somebody that their boyfriend sucks, because I've literally told my friends to their face and to their boyfriends that I don't like them, that they suck, that they could do so much better. And they won't do anything about it until they're ready. So I would just stick by your friend, be there, support them. And if you need to put a boundary up by saying like, look, I cannot be your therapist anymore. Like, I'm here for you if you really, really need me. But like, I don't need to hear about all of these details of your relationship and all of the like shitty things that they do, because I have offered the advice and you have not accepted that advice or taken it. So like, I don't know what else that you need from me besides to vent. So like, you can vent to me, but like, I'm kind of done responding. And I had to do that with a friend, and I ended up never hearing about the relationship again. And I think it kind of made us less friends. But at the same time, my life got a bit better because I wasn't constantly being bothered about that. But yeah, I don't like, that's kind of sad, but like, there's really not a lot that you can do. Like, you can straight up tell them, but it is going to probably affect your relationship, at least at the beginning, because they'll get very defensive and be like, well, you just don't know the version of them that I know, and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm clearly I'm not that great at giving advice. I'm gonna keep doing it though, because I think at the end of the day, when you ask somebody for advice, sometimes you just want to hear like their take. Maybe that's what because as club members, you know, like, it's not like I'm the ruler of your lives. I'm just one girl who runs this club. But at the end of the day, like, y'all, when you leave the club meeting, like, you can go do whatever the fuck you want. So hopefully my advice will just maybe spark some other thought in your head of action items that you can come up with on your own, you know? But yeah, it sucks when your friends date losers. It really sucks, because like, they become a loser by association, and then you become a loser by association with them. But you can't leave your friends. You got to stick by them. Just be there. But if you need to set the boundary, then you should. I believe that you should, because their relationship should not affect your life. That's not fair at all. But yeah, I think that is the end of this club meeting. So I hope to see you guys next week. If you're liking the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to watch the video version. It's Starnsy over on YouTube. And thank you to everybody who's watched the YouTube version. And thank you to the people who have left reviews on Apple Podcasts. That is huge. I see them. And I love you guys. And see you next week's meeting. Bye.
The Girls Club, 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 the Girls Club. It's my club and I'm a girl, yeah.